morning. Welcome to the sports section with Jacob and Colette. We were both terribly wrong in yesterday's game.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. I did say Tampa Bay to you yesterday, though.
You did.
I did, but I said by 3, and clearly no.
31-9.
Well, I picked the 3. Just didn't know it would be 31.
And I mean, the Chiefs did get a lot of field goals.
It was. What did you think of the game?
It really surprised me. I was expecting the Chiefs and the Bucks to be really neck and neck, and that wasn't the case. I think a big problem for the Chiefs were the penalties. Penalties seemed very one-sided, but I'm not going to go too much into that. But the Chiefs took 120 yards worth of penalties.
Really? Was that?
And 11 calls. That's 120 free yards. Like, here you go.
That is quite a bit. And they were on home turf.
They were on home turf. Tom Brady looked like vintage Tom Brady.
He played well.
Going 21 for 29, 201 yards and 3 touchdowns, as you'll see on the graphic on your screen. Where Mahomes, I can't say he played bad, but he didn't play like an all-star like he normally does.
My take on Mahomes was it looked like, especially in the third quarter, he did not give up.
No.
You know, he was giving it everything that he had. And there was one toss, and I don't know if we'd be able to show it or not, but there was one toss, he was pretty much horizontal to the ground, about to land, and chucks this beautiful Hail Mary, and they almost scored on it.
It was nuts.
It was awesome. He was awesome. But I don't know. I just kind of see his I won't say rookie status, but he just seemed like he wasn't quite up to...
He was also injured. Let's remember that. He does need to have
excuses. You hate Brady, and you're like your homie Mahomes.
He does need toe surgery. Like, you got to remember that. I think that's why he wasn't as mobile as he normally would be. Being sacked 3 times, which is odd for Mahomes.
That's not just on him.
No, that's not at all. As we were saying off camera, the offensive line for the Chiefs they weren't there, unfortunately.
No, not at all. So what did you think of Canadians' weekend for the halftime show?
Oh, I loved it.
I thought it was awesome too.
Awesome to see a Canadian artist taking the stage and owning the stage. Like, I mean, it was a very, very exciting halftime show.
Yeah, it was. And I thought it was kind of cool. I don't know if you noticed, he was red and white. Yep. He had the Canadian, he had all the fireworks in red and white, all the lights were red and white. I picked up on that weekend, way to represent Canada.
And something my mom picked up on, actually, which is really cool. You noticed how during the dancing they were all wearing the face coverings?
Yeah.
How much you want to bet it's because they were wearing some sort of mask underneath?
No, yeah, that's what I said, they're COVID friendly.
Which was awesome.
It was really cool how they ended that, eh? It was awesome to have covered the whole field. We had a great time watching that.
We did.
Any other comments on the Super Bowl before we move on to the blue and white team?
Before we move on to that, I want to talk about Gronkowski.
Okay.
Nobody was sure what he was going to do this year as he just came out of retirement. This guy was on fire that game. Averaging 11.5 yards per catch, 67 yards and 2 touchdowns. It just looked like old school Brady and Gronk back at it again.
Yeah, they were good together.
As much as I hate seeing it.
I'm
a Bills fan, okay? So the Patriots put me through a lot of grief.
As am I, but you do not like Tom Brady.
I do not.
That's okay. You can share it. Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. It was a great dynamic duo for sure.
It really was.
Yeah.
And that was a big step for the Buccaneers. They were just able to get that offensive going where the Chiefs just weren't.
Absolutely. Okay, I just have to say, watched the Leaf game a little bit on Saturday night. Didn't watch the full thing, I will admit that. But don't you find, I know, terrible, and I believe blue and white. I'm sorry, Leafs. But don't you find they're not panicking in their own zone? They're making smart passes to move the puck up the ice.
They really are.
That's a new Leaf. Like, as a Leaf fan, that is a big...
And
the defense is much better. Those are 2 issues that I always had a problem with the Leafs, like panicking and dumping the puck all the time and just shooting it down with hesitating. You know what I mean?
I think a big thing for that was 2 big moves they made in TJ Brody and Zach Bogosian. Those are 2 very strong puck-moving defensemen. They've both had playoff success. Bogosian won a Stanley Cup last year, and you are seeing the big improvement in the defense. It's a night and day difference from last year to this year.
Not to mention Mr. 34.
Yeah.
He is playing sensational, Austin Matthews.
Like, he has just been like Matthews. He's on a career best 7 consecutive goal game streak currently. Like, as you'll see on the graphic, he already has 10 goals. It's just unreal what this guy is doing.
What he's going to be able to do in this short season is going to be spectacular for sure. Now, let's talk a little bit about Wayne Simmonds. He, we just found out, snapped his wrist. So he is definitely out for 6 weeks, which sucks.
That really hurts the Leafs. Wayne Simmonds has been playing really well lately. Just recently moved up to the second line. Already has 5 goals this year. And he's had a couple fights. He's been hitting. He's really brought in a rough and tough sandpaper feel, which, let's be honest, the Leafs have been missing that the past few seasons.
Since Darcy Tucker.
Realistically, yeah. I mean, it's a huge loss for Toronto because we don't really have another player who plays like Wayne Simmonds. I think you're going to see VC probably move back up to that slot quite a bit as he played on that line early in the season and did have some success.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see.
Well, just on TSN, just before the show started, we were talking about how they're going to move to a 11-man forward, just shuffle the rotation, try out new lines. So we'll see what happens there. You know?
And a great chance for Rasmus Sandin to get in there, which he hasn't got to play all season yet.
Yeah.
Very good young puck-moving defenseman. So let's hope he gets some ice time and see what he can do.
Well, we've already edged Vancouver twice, so this is a good game to put him in and see what he can do for sure.
I think so, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, are we going to the Sens or are we going to the Battle of Alberta?
Let's quickly touch on the Sens.
Okay, fine.
You know what? You
I
just sit over there and sulk like I did about
can't.
Brady. The Ottawa Senators, they split their 2 games against the Habs, which frankly I was shocked.
Yeah.
They looked very good in both games. Matt Murray played extremely well. They just looked awesome out there.
Yeah.
And Montreal's trying, unlike Vancouver.
Oh, they're terrible. As I said,
the
are the
work
Leafs
ethic
that
of that
good
was
or are the Canucks
pathetic.
that bad? I'm like, maybe it's a bit of both.
But what I love to see from Ottawa is that team puts in so much effort and they got the goaltending they needed the past 2 games. I think Ottawa might start to rack up some wins.
Okay, let's talk Johnny Hockey and Connor McDavid.
Well, the Battle of Alberta. As we all know, the Battle of Alberta is usually insane. Last year we had bench clearing brawls, goalie fights, some of the best hockey I had seen since, well, maybe a little bit before my time, but the early 90s, going back and watching highlights. Not to that same extent, but a very high scoring game, 6-4 for the Flames.
Crazy. That's a very high scoring game for hockey, for sure.
Which was surprising to see Markstrom allowing that many goals in the net for the Flames. He's been rock solid this year. I'm not saying the goals were his fault, but it's interesting to see him looking beatable.
Did they play at the Saddledome? They were in Calgary for that
Yes.
game, yeah. All right. Well, maybe they had to step up their game.
I think they do.
Okay, where else are we going? Who else we got? Raptors.
We'll quickly touch base on the Raptors as we're running out of time here. But the Raptors play the Grizzlies tonight, looking to bounce back after a tough loss against the Hawks. OG Anunoby is still out with a calf injury, which that really hurts the team. But I still like the way the bench is stepping up. So I still think the Raptors can win this game.
Okay, well, go Raptors, go Raptors, go. We the North. Okay, let's talk about naming the show. All yours, Jacob.
So as you know, we've been asking people to name the show. We've had quite a few ideas. We've picked a name today.
We have.
Can I get a drum roll?
Ding!
705 Sports.
Right here with you every day on
Right
5
here,
o'clock
every
news.
day, Monday to Friday during your 5 p.m. evening news. But speaking of evening news.
Oh, yeah, right. Should get back to that, shouldn't I?
I think you got some more news for us. But hang tight. We'll be right back with news after this commercial break.